going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Saturday morning. Of course, Premier League action returns today. Manchester United don't return to Premier League action until tomorrow. We've got that evening kickoff against Everton at Goodison Park. But we thought, check in this morning, talk a little bit about some Manchester United news. There's not too much, but I do want to talk about the Cristiano Ronaldo stuff this morning. There were some reports from Duncan Castles that I think are worth discussing the merits of it, discussing the reliability of it, discussing if you believe it's true, if you believe it's not true, just the general Ronaldo situation. So we're going to talk about that a bit this morning as well. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can still vote for us. There is still time. Just about there is still time. You can still vote for us in the Football Content Awards. The links will all be in the video description. We're up for awards in 3 categories, I believe it is. And we've got just 24 hours left. I believe voting closes tomorrow. Not sure when it closes tomorrow. I want to say probably midnight tomorrow, I would assume. So voting closes on the 9th of October, which is tomorrow. So if you haven't already, please do vote for us in those categories. Of course, also you can join the UV Members Club in the links in the video description for that. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your exclusive members-only content, such as UV Raw, a behind-the-scenes look at the day-to-day going on here at United View. So there's the housekeeping as always, and as I mentioned, be sure to smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. Let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, Ronaldo's been a point of discussion for the last couple of weeks. He's always a point of discussion, and he will always be a point of discussion, as much as it can be somewhat frustrating that I think sometimes it diverts the attention away from other important subjects, i.e., for instance, the Manchester City result last weekend. And, we obviously want to move on from that. But coming out of that game, maybe the entire focus wasn't necessarily on the performance and the result. The discussion point became Cristiano Ronaldo, why wasn't he brought on? Respect. And maybe Erik ten Hag sort of made that situation for himself, saying that he didn't bring him on out of respect for Cristiano Ronaldo. But certainly he's always a point of discussion. Whether he plays, like on Thursday, he's a point of discussion. Whether he's on the bench and he comes on, he's a point of discussion. Whether he's on the bench and he doesn't come on, he's a point of discussion. Whether he's not even in the squad, he's a point of discussion. So there is always going to be these conversations and these talking points about Cristiano Ronaldo. But nevertheless, last night we got some more details about Ronaldo. And it is interesting, certainly, because it kind of goes in the face of other reports, which are why I think the reaction to this on social media has been so mixed. So it must be said, it comes from Duncan Castles of The Times, and he's written an article saying, Cristiano Ronaldo dismayed at stubborn Erik ten Hag's training and tactics. So pretty strong language being used here by Duncan Castles from The Times. And in the article, he goes on to say, there are those at Carrington who describe Cristiano Ronaldo often at loggerheads with ten Hag. They speak of a footballer who complains about the nature and quality of training sessions and who thinks Manchester United would be better off playing a different way. Cristiano Ronaldo is said to consider Ten Hag stubborn and unnecessarily wedded to his approach that worked at Ajax. Again, pretty strong stuff there. Now, he also goes on to say, on his return from Qatar, obviously the World Cup later on this year, Cristiano Ronaldo hopes to prepare for a new club. Erik ten Hag would be happy to part ways with a player who openly opposes his methods. The question is whether Manchester United's hierarchy will agree. Now, this is certainly interesting because yesterday it was written by, I think it was Rob Dawson from ESPN, saying Manchester United are confident Cristiano Ronaldo will stay at the club in January, mainly because of a lack of interest in him. Rob Dawson then also said Ten Hag is understanding of Ronaldo's situation, but would be reluctant to let him leave in January. He has been told it's highly unlikely there will be money to spend until next summer, reducing the possibility of finding a Ronaldo replacement. So you've got 2 reports there that are somewhat polar opposites of each other. And you could say, well, Owen, why are we paying any attention then to the Duncan Castles report? Why are we paying any attention to that article? Because from what we've all heard, from what we've always heard, since the transfer window closed, and even during when it was open, when it was widely reported that Ronaldo wanted to leave and was hoping that there were going to be offers on the table. There were not offers on the table. Clearly, the clubs that he was linked to came out publicly at various points saying, we're not interested, whether it was Bayern Munich, Napoli, Atletico Madrid. Chelsea didn't come out publicly and say it, but it was publicly declared that they were not interested. Thomas Tuchel at the time said he was not interested, and they moved on. They signed Aubameyang. They're going to be signing Nkunku, and it would appear that maybe that Ronaldo possible transfer could be off the table at some point. So why are we paying any attention to this? Well, I would be cautious just to rule it out completely. And the reason I would be cautious to rule it out completely is because Duncan Castles historically has pretty good ties with George Mendes, and i.e. Camp Ronaldo in this one. Duncan Castles was the first person to break the story that Ronaldo wanted to leave Manchester United this summer. I believe it was on the 2nd of July. It was right at the beginning of July, end of June. He broke the exclusive that Cristiano Ronaldo wanted to leave Manchester United, that Ronaldo was looking for a different club, felt that Manchester United didn't meet his ambitions, wanted to leave to a Champions League club, wanted to play in the Champions League this season. Duncan Castles reported that. It was subsequently confirmed by the likes of David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, Simon Stone, Samuel Luckhurst, all of the big hitters, but it was Duncan Castles who first broke that report. And as I mentioned, Duncan Castles, historically, when it comes to situations of George Mendes and Cristiano Ronaldo, is somewhat on the money. So I would be cautious to completely write it off. And I think the best way to try and break it down is, okay, if this is true, what does it mean? If it's not true, what does it mean? Why is it not true? Why is it true? And maybe somewhere in between, because this is how it always works with media stories, with articles, is that parts of it are probably accurate, some parts are not accurate, they're speculated, and the real truth, the real reality is somewhere in the middle. That's always the case when it comes to journalism. Now, you could say, let's go down the route of it's not true, it's nonsense. Let's start with there first. As I mentioned, all we've heard, realistically, in terms of other reports and other outlets, whether it has been Romano, whether it has been, I mentioned Rob Dawson there, or whether it has been, the Telegraph, or again, Samuel Luckhurst, we have always heard Cristiano Ronaldo is nothing but a professional. Cristiano Ronaldo is not causing any problems in training. And I say journalists, we've heard it from Erik ten Hag himself in the press conferences. We heard it on Wednesday in his Europa League press conference when the journalists there clearly were trying to trip up, in my opinion, the Manchester United manager by saying he was unhappy, he's unhappy, he's unhappy. And Erik ten Hag said, I never said he was unhappy. When did I say he was unhappy? Now, he had to concede that, well, he's obviously not happy if he's not playing. He's pissed off, was his actual words. He's pissed off if he's not playing. But then that's the case for any player worth his salt, any player at the elite level shouldn't be happy if they're on the bench. And Cristiano Ronaldo is no different in that aspect. But when he turns up to training, when he participates in training, he's happy, he's in a good mood, he enjoys training. So those comments there by Erik ten Hag seemingly would fly in the face of this report. And that's something to consider. I mean, if it's come from the horse's mouth, as it were, or as close to Erik ten Hag, if ten Hag says Ronaldo is happy, I guess you have to assume that Ronaldo is happy. Granted, what's Erik ten Hag going to say? Is he going to come out in a press conference and say, yeah, he's not happy in training, or this, that, and the other? But he would never say that, and I don't buy that that's accurate. I do believe that Cristiano Ronaldo is an utmost professional from all the footage that we see, because I've seen this too on social media. It's a lie. We've seen the training pictures. We've seen the training footage. Don't buy into that too much because they're just that. Pictures are snapshots in time. Pictures can make anything look like however you want to. And training footage, they release, 30 seconds of it? If you're going to shape your opinion based on pictures and training footage, then I wouldn't recommend doing that, because, again, that can be misleading. I would recommend to base your opinion, and it's just your opinion. You can make up your mind however you want to. It's not me to dictate how to do that. It would be on reports, on what is the general consensus, what are people that are close to the situation saying, what tends to be, what makes sense in your mind's eye. and maybe footage and that does come into it, but I don't buy too much into that. But I do buy into that Cristiano Ronaldo is a professional. I do buy into that Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't cause any problems in training. I'm not going to say he's happy, because clearly he's not. I wouldn't say he's happy at Manchester United. He's not happy he's not playing, but also he wanted to leave in the summer. And there was this weird sort of perception on social media that people are just trying to forget that he wanted to leave. His agent offered him out to any club that would take him, any Champions League club that would take him this past summer. That happened. We can't forget that happened. That was a thing. That is factually that happened. Now, again, all of those clubs can come out and say, no, it didn't happen, we didn't have talks. But George Mendes, again, he was compiling dossiers of, well, maybe you won't get Ronaldo in his prime, but look at all he can do in terms of merchandise. Look at what he can do in terms of revenue. Look how much money he can make you. Melissa Reddy was here on the channel. I remember her saying to Flex that thing, that George Mendes was putting that dossier together to get people, interested or possibly consider the possibility of signing Ronaldo. But as far as Ronaldo being a problem, or Ronaldo having a bad attitude or anything like that, I don't subscribe to that. Now, let's sort of more dive into if aspects of this could be true, if aspects of this could be accurate. You could be really, really cynical here. And you could say that, well, he's not getting picked, and now it's become a case of the manager is stubborn, the manager is wed to his Ajax tactics, and that's why he's not picking me. It's nothing based on myself. It's not the fact that I missed preseason. It's not the fact that I'm not in the best form. It's not in the fact that I'm not playing particularly well. It's the manager's fault. And would Cristiano Ronaldo do that? I don't know, because if Cristiano Ronaldo, realistically, and again, maybe this is why you don't totally subscribe to this story, but if Cristiano Ronaldo made this a me versus the manager thing, I don't think he would win. Those days are gone. Those days are gone of Cristiano Ronaldo versus the manager. Any other point in his career, I recall when Ronaldo was at Real Madrid, and I think Rafa Benitez was the manager there, and there were stories at the time that he wasn't happy with Benitez's style of play, but eventually Benitez left, and it didn't work out for Benitez at Real Madrid. But there have been managers throughout his career that maybe he didn't like working with, the most. And if Cristiano Ronaldo made it a point of me versus the manager, at most points in his career, the club would choose Cristiano Ronaldo over the manager. Not a sustainable model to run, but they're not going to let go of Ronaldo. Now that's a little bit different. Ronaldo's 37, coming on to 38. If Ronaldo made this a me versus Ten Hag situation, which again I can't really see him doing, to be honest. If he made it a me versus Ten Hag situation, I don't think he would win that one. And I do raise my eyebrow, like The Rock, as if, about Ten Hag being stubborn and unnecessarily wedded to his approach that worked at Ajax, because we haven't seen that really. And again, if that is legitimately Ronaldo's perspective on things, I would say that's way off base, because I think Erik Ten Hag's been nothing but flexible when it comes to his tactics. Certainly, in an ideal world, we would be playing that style of football that he played at Ajax. Absolutely in an ideal world. And throughout pre-season, that's what he wanted Manchester United to do. Throughout pre-season, he wanted Manchester United to dominate possession. He wanted us to press. He wanted us to be high energy. He wanted us to be calm and composed and patient on the ball. And we saw that through pre-season. But after those first two games of the season for Manchester United, against Brighton, particularly against Brentford, we changed the style of play dramatically. And that isn't just in terms of the eye test. You can see in terms of the eye test that Manchester United have changed the way they play, and they're playing very much more on the counter-attack now. But even statistically, if you look at the stats and look at the analysis, Manchester United's average position is far deeper than it was previously. Manchester United's average possession since that game against Brentford has reduced dramatically. So, and Manchester United, as I mentioned, the width has been, you ask Cam, it's the minimum width thing. Manchester United's tactics have changed dramatically since that defeat against Brentford. So I wouldn't say that Erik Ten Hag's stubborn when it comes to his tactics. If anything, I think he's been very flexible because he realised he couldn't do what he was doing at Ajax. Now, Long term, is that what he wants to do? Probably. But good managers find solutions to difficult times and difficult situations. You look at Arsenal, Mikel Arteta. The way that Arsenal are playing football now, that isn't the way that Arsenal had been playing football the first year and a half that Mikel Arteta was there, because they couldn't do it. Then it became 5 at the back. Then it became park the bus football, because he had to find solutions to difficult situations. And I think that's what Erik ten Hag's doing right now. But you can't also completely ignore your philosophies and your principles as a coach. Yes, you adapt. Yes, you modify things. Yes, you change things depending on the situation, but you can't just abandon all your principles. Erik ten Hag hasn't come this far in his career just to get to Manchester United and rip up the rule book and say, well, I'm going to start everything from scratch. He's going to continue to do what's worked for him in the past. So you could argue maybe he's somewhat stubborn in terms of sometimes with substitutions. We heard that from the We Talk Ajax guys, that sometimes the subs are a bit late on in the game. But on the flip side, you look at Ammonia on Thursday, he made substitutions at half-time. They worked immediately. Those substitutions won us the game. So in terms of him being stubborn, we've heard that he's, an authoritarian. He dictates everything. He has his fingerprints across everything, and it's all of the details are dictated by Erik ten Hag. But isn't that why we signed him to be the manager? Isn't that why Manchester United hired him? So, if Cristiano Ronaldo, if this report is accurate, which again, I think parts of it are worth considering. I don't think it's entirely accurate. But if that is true, then you would say, well, the manager's got his principles, his philosophies. That's just how it's going to go. And again, if it becomes a decision of Ronaldo versus Ten Hag's going to win that one. But I don't expect Ronaldo to leave. I don't expect Cristiano Ronaldo to leave in January. I don't, because if the reports from the likes of Rob Dawson are accurate, that there isn't money to spend in January, which I don't think there will be because we spent a lot in the summer, then how is it a right call to let Ronaldo go with no replacement? We've seen how much we've struggled to have a fit and available striker with Ronaldo at the club. Putting Marcus Rashford in there, that realistically, we don't want to put Marcus Rashford up front. He's more effective off the left-hand side. We've only got 2 strikers, Cristiano Ronaldo, Anthony Martial. One, the fitness record so far this season has been iffy. Fingers crossed he can remain fit for the remainder of the season. And the other one, he's not really in Erik ten Hag's plans that much. We need another striker anyway. If we let Ronaldo go, we need probably 2. You could argue if Ronaldo does go, it frees up a lot of wage, which maybe you can balance things out. Maybe then you could get a Cody Gakpo that isn't a striker, but he could be a stopgap. Or maybe you just wait until the summer anyway. So that's the difficult situation when it comes to that. But as far as Ronaldo often being at loggerheads with Ten Hag, as the report says, and a footballer that complains about the nature and quality of the training sessions, I don't know if I buy that. You could be a real cynic here, and as I mentioned, Duncan Castle's very close links with George Mendes and therefore links to Ronaldo. You could just say that we're entering October now. We're entering a month, about 5 or 6 weeks before the World Cup. The January charm offensive could be beginning now, right? This is a guy that wanted to leave in the summer. This is a guy that didn't get his move in the summer, not because there were offers on the table, but because there weren't offers on the table. Maybe the discussion has been, right, what happened in the summer, i.e. me not leaving, that can't happen again. We need to start now. We need to put in this offensive to leave Manchester United in January now. And you could say, oh, and that's very cynical for you to think, and that is it. If anything, that is unprofessional of Ronaldo. Putting stuff out there, if this does come from George Mendes, if it does come from Cristiano Ronaldo, that's not professional. But ultimately, he wants his move. He's going to make another push to leave in January. I have no doubts about that. I don't think he will leave in January because I don't think United will facilitate that exit unless things get so bad that it just becomes a situation of, we'll just let him go and we've got a replacement. But maybe that's what all of this is. Maybe this is not necessarily from Ronaldo. Maybe it's from George Mendes of, okay, let's start the January charm offensive now. Let's get out of this now. But again, that to me wouldn't completely jive with how Ronaldo has acted during his career. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. And ultimately, what are we doing again? Saturday morning, we're having the same discussions that we're having Thursday evening. We're having the same discussions that we were having Monday morning, Monday afternoon, and that's about Cristiano Ronaldo. And he's always going to be a conversation point. And I think, obviously, you're respectful of what Ronaldo has achieved in his career. Obviously, you can't take away the trophies he's won individually and as part of a team throughout his entire career, but it is becoming, as a fan, somewhat, I want to say problematic, but just tiring when the conversation is always about him. Irrespective of whether we win, we lose, whether he plays, whether he doesn't play, whether he's on the bench, whether he's not on the bench, it's always talking about him. Coming out of that game against City, I'd have much preferred the conversation to be on Manchester United's poor performance, or Manchester United's lack of belief, Manchester United's fragility, and how we're going to address that going forward. But it turned into disrespect of Ronaldo. Why didn't you bring him on? And that's not the conversation to be having, in my opinion. And ultimately, these are the conversations we're going to have to keep having until January. And again, maybe from an agent point of view, that's eventually it will just grate on people at the club enough that they'll just release him or they'll buy out his contract. I don't know. But again, ultimately, when it comes to these kind of stories, you have to make up your own minds and you have to make up your own opinions and assess the facts, assess what you believe, what you don't believe, and try and find the truth somewhere in between. But there you go, guys. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As I mentioned, Everton tomorrow at Goodison Park in the evening. Awful kickoff time. Absolutely awful kickoff time. And also, as well, that whole Chelsea situation for that game as well is a complete shambles as well. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Some of the scheduling of the United games this season is unbelievable. But we'll have a full match day coverage tomorrow. Preview will also be coming today. So plenty of content here coming at United View. So have a good Saturday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.